Hello and welcome to today's Council Watch. It's been an interesting week council-wise, with all the stuff about the libraries going sort of full tilt between Suffolk County Council and the Suffolk Library Service. But we'll come back to that on another episode. Today I wanted to talk about an ordinary council meeting. Finance and governance, one of those meetings that never really gets exciting because they talk about money, and money's pretty boring really, isn't it? But I didn't really predict what was going to happen today. I don't know if you've heard of it, but there is a thing called the Friends of the Claremont Pier. And the Friends of the Claremont Pier are trying to raise money to do the public bit of the pier up, you know, the bit that goes over the sea. I spend a fair chunk of the year on the end of a pier, and I'm quite aware how the wind and the weather can wreck anything that's made out of wood. The wood goes down, it looks lovely. Give it 2 or 3 weeks, it's changed colour completely. Give it 2 or 3 months and cracks start to appear. Give it 2 or 3 years, and although the top looks good, the underneath can have crumbled away. So repairing piers is a never-ending thing, and it's very expensive. You can't just pop down to the DIY shop and buy a sort of lump of cheap timber and expect it to last. It's quite a clever sort of process. But the Friends of the Claremont Pier want to organise a firework display. A bit like Great Yarmouth have, but perhaps not quite so grand. I mean, Yarmouth have been doing their Wednesday night firework displays. I think it's 9 o'clock they do them, 10 o'clock, something like that when it gets dark. They've been doing them for years. They're incredibly popular with all the people who are on holiday, and quite a lot of the locals like it too. Of course, fireworks also have downsides. More to that in a minute. Watch this.
137.18 Friends of Claremont Pier CIC 5,000. Any question, Wendy?
Well, I have a problem with this one, not only what it's proposing, but also there's no equality or any other documentation being sent in with it.
The snag here is there is some missing documentation, and Wendy sort of suggested that, well, until we get the paperwork, let's just put it off. But the solution seemed to be, well, why don't we just consider it normally, and then they can let us have the missing documentation and we can put it in the pack. That makes perfect sense. So if you'll forgive me, I've edited out the bits that are not relevant to what we're going to be talking about today.
What comments would you like to make on the application itself?
Well, I'm not a great fan of fireworks. I'm certainly not a great fan of fireworks near the Kitcheners. You know, people do know that fireworks are very upsetting for not just animals and wildlife, but also with people suffering from any form of post-traumatic stress. If they were to consider, there's all sorts of alternatives that they can use now. They can use laser lights and things like that. I would be very, very unhappy because of the negative impact they have on wildlife and on people with post-traumatic stress. Giving any money towards the Friends of Claremont Pier for a firework display, and also bearing in mind, of course, that the Kittiwakes are nesting there.
Most of us understand that sort of surprise fireworks, like the ones we had in Lowestoft a couple of nights ago, where all of a sudden someone had a firework party. Scared the life out of me. You know, I lived in Normanston Park, just didn't expect it. But on the seafront, for a planned display, people have a choice, don't they? If it's publicised well enough, the people that really don't like fireworks are prepared for it. It seems to be in a pretty good cause, and firework displays, no matter what you think, are actually quite exciting, aren't they? The oohs and ahs of the crowd pretty much sum up how much people enjoy fireworks when they're done properly. I'm not sure Wendy's thing about lasers makes any sense, because a laser display is not a firework display. Lasers need music that go with them. And if you go to a laser display, then the music is incredibly loud, and the music is sort of probably more of a nuisance than the bangs are. So fireworks are fireworks. But anyway, it went on.
You know, if they'd have come to us with an application to help them restore a little bit the pier, I would have been sympathetic. For fireworks, I'm totally unsympathetic.
So can I just make a comment on the Kittiwakes and declaring that I'm the current town council rep on the Kittiwake Partnership? Friends of Claremont Pier did approach the Kittiwake Partnership officer for advice on initially fireworks from the pier. And because the proposed location was feet at most from where they nest, and it was felt that in August 25 fledglings would likely still be there, they were advised not to have them on the pier. But they were not advised not to have them. They were advised that if they wanted them to have them further along the seafront. So despite the journal article that subsequently appeared, they were not told no, because the Kittiwake Partnership has no enforcement authority. But they were approached for an opinion, and their advice was not to have them on the pier, but if you're going to have them further along the seafront. That they did not advise not to have them at all. And I was not party to that advice. I saw the advice in writing from the Kittiwake officer afterwards. It was not a committee decision. It was an advice from the project officer. Wendy.
The Kittiwake thing really annoys me. They stand in the way of the things at the marina. They stand in the way of things at the Claremont Pier. The damn things are a nuisance. I'd love it if they all disappeared. It may not be very palatable, but I think if the Kittiwakes didn't come back one year, I don't think I'd be shedding a tear.
Yeah, just on the Kittiwakes, I did actually speak to Ben about this. Ben is one of the directors of the pier, and he said that by the end of August, they've usually gone. They're fledged. He also takes advice, I understand, from the RSPB, not about just the fireworks, but because of the ongoing work that they're doing there with the boarding on the pier. So he is very aware of them and does try to reduce impacts on them. So I don't know, Andy, whether the advice given, I didn't read the article. I thought that was in relation to the carnival. They wanted to do something for the carnival.
It was, but it was still to take place in August.
Yeah, and
so the advice was on the basis that there might still be fledglings, certainly in the first 2 weeks in August.
Yeah, because I think the date of the carnival is something like is it the 16th?
It's the middle of the month, isn't it?
Yeah, about the 14th or 16th.
Yeah.
And I'm aware that was the advice that the carnival were given. So
right.
they were looking at moving them. But I did speak to Ben previously, before he put the grant application in, about the Kittiwakes, and he did explain that by the end of August, generally they've all gone back to sea.
Okay, Wendy.
Look, I don't want to get my main objection lost.
It won't be.
Because, yes, the Kittiwakes off they go at the end of August, but it's a bigger I don't think the town council should be funding fireworks.
Your main objection is...
That's my main objection, to do with PTSD and to do with animal distress and wildlife. That's my objection.
Your main objection has not been lost. It will be taken in consideration.
Right.
I just commented, because you mentioned Kittiwakes right at the end, that they had sought advice. And I just wanted to relay what their response to that request for advice was.
Regular council watch viewers will no doubt have noticed the warning bells starting to ring.
My feelings aren't quite as strongly as Wendy's. I mean, my situation with fireworks is I'm a bit of a traditionalist, because when I grew up, fireworks were bonfire night and to some extent New Year's Eve, and nowadays they're like all the year round. And I grew up when we had a dog as well. He used to spend the night carrying under the table. Nevertheless, I'm on a council where we're expected to make decisions for everybody, and I'm not a killjoy. So that is my personal preference. But the PTSD comment is interesting, because I've not thought or considered of that. But in terms of the noise on the night and the effect on domestic animals and so on like that, yes, I mean, I have personal reservations myself, but equally I'm loath to ban things. So I don't really know how I feel at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I must say I'm not a great lover of fireworks personally, but I do know that these events have been going on now. I think it's been putting on for at least a couple of years. I think the first year they did some kind of light show. Last year they've been doing the fireworks, and there is a tremendous turnout of local people that do go down there, take the kids down there and enjoy them. So my preference is no, I don't particularly like fireworks, but he's putting them on for local people.
I'm not saying the Claremont Pier can't go to East Suffolk Council and get a agreement to have a firework display. That's up to them, and then it's up to East Suffolk Council, not us. I just don't think as a town council, we should be using council tax money to fund a firework display, because I think it sends the wrong message. And the message is not, we wouldn't, okay, to be like really difficult, we wouldn't support a lap dancing club. We wouldn't give money to a sponsored lap dance, would we? Or a striptease.
Now there's an idea. A striptease or a sponsored lap dancing event. I can't really see that you could like compare fireworks with lap dancing. Be interesting though, wouldn't it?
And that's noted, but
It's different from me saying they should be banned.
yes,
Because those people are quite capable of raising funds elsewhere for a firework display. I don't think the town council should be funding.
and that's fine, Wendy, and you've made that clear.
Yeah.
But there's also a difference between a public fireworks display to which families in all ages can go to, and a lap dancing club, which would be strictly licensed and most certainly would not be open to all ages. Well, no, it isn't. So, but you made the comparison as to what we would suitably fund and what we wouldn't. So I think it is fair to make that as an analogy. There is a distinct difference, not just in what they are, but in actually in terms of an amenity to the public. One would be age restricted, one wouldn't. One would be, I mean, they'd both be subject to licensing, but the license on a lap dancing club would be, more stringent from that point of view, and one might well, be private. I mean, I've not heard of a public amenity lap dancing club before, but
The new town hall's meant to be a public amenity, so maybe they could do the lap dancing at the town hall. I don't mean it, honestly.
Now, for me, it's a case of actually, I'm picking up on what Wendy actually says, and I do know the effects it has on people. But I know that Bernie said how many people actually turn out to see it. So if there's a lot of people who go to see it, then it's obviously value for money for them and for the work that goes on down there. But I would suggest that if we do go ahead and unminded to approve this or not, then we actually put a stipulation in that the fireworks have to be of the low noise type. And you can get those now, which would do actually to a large extent take away some of the problems for animals and wildlife.
If we're actually looking for alternative things similar to fireworks, then maybe one of those coordinated drone shows would be great. The ones where each drone lights up and you send a couple of hundred up in the air and it actually sort of looks like pictures in the sky. And people actually really like those nowadays. And you could always get a drone company to come in and do one of those. Those displays are actually incredible to see. They really, really are nice. But that's not what we're talking about, is it? We're talking about somebody wants a firework display.
the £5,000 is for 3 displays, not one, and it's not 100% funding either. So the total project budget is 13,250. So we're being asked to fund a little over a third of the project budget. We're not being asked to wholly fund it.
And it was here that things started to derail as usual.
I'm also aware that although they call themselves the Friends of Claremont Pier CIC, they are actually a private company that owns Claremont Pier. I can see Bernie's hand is shooting up immediately. Can I just finish though?
Can you stop with the remarks, please?
Yeah.
And concentrate
Also,
on the
right, okay.
Wendy, stop. All right, I'm in the chair. All right. If you want to make a point, make it, and your point will be respected. Stop with the barbed comments at other members. All right. Now, carry on.
Right. It is a private company. They will be the beneficiaries of this firework display. And also, I just want to remind people that as a town council, we have signed up to a climate emergency. I'm not sure how compatible 3 firework displays is with that policy. But anyway, at this stage, we don't even have all the documents, do we?
Covered that one, Wendy, and what options are open
yeah.
to us with that one. Bernie.
Yeah, just to come back to Wendy's point, the CIC is separate from the Claremont Pier ownership. It is registered, it's legally registered, and it has been set up to enable funds to be raised to restore the pier, which up until now the owners of the pier have been carrying out themselves through selling boards and various bits from the pier and from their own pockets. It doesn't enable them to, in that way, to go for grant funding, and they're trying to save the pier from further deterioration. If they did everything they wanted to do to it, which would be to board it all the way down, there would be further works required to stabilise it underneath, and we're going to be looking in the millions rather than the thousands to do it. So that is why the Friends of Claremont Pier, CIC, was set up.
And just to be clear as well, it says in the application that Friends of Claremont Pier CIC is a not-for-profit community interest company. It gives the registration number that raises funds for the restoration of the seaward end of Claremont Pier. Yeah. We seek to support local people with a particular focus on deprived families by holding free events and to rebuild the seaward end of the pier, which is free to walk. So I would say from the application that whatever we individually may think of fireworks, it's a public amenity event and not an event that is going to benefit any private business owner.
Yeah, I was just going to, if I can just finish, Chair. That is the point of it. It will be free to access. The work that he's done on there so far is free to access and anybody can use it. He's just trying to raise the remaining funds to carry on what he's doing.
Right, Wendy, last point.
This is my absolutely last point. Well, I mean, it seems to me some people seem to be very close to these people, but anyway, I'm going to propose that.
Right, I've asked you, Wendy. Now stop. Wendy,
Wendy,
stop. Now I'm warning you now. All right, under Section 2 of Standing Orders. Yes, the one about order of meetings. I have asked you once to stop with the barbed comments at members, and straight on your next point, you're straight in there. All right, you need to tread a very fine line yourself regarding who you're close to when considering matters in this committee before you point fingers at anybody else. Right. Now, if you have a point to make that you've not already made and you're capable of making it without making barbed commands at other individuals, carry on.
we refuse this application.
Right. So proposed.
Right of reply, please, right. Chair. I very much resent Wendy's little insinuations. I don't know the owners of the pier very well. It is in my ward. So, yes, I know quite a few businesses in my ward. I know quite a few people in my ward. You'd expect me to. So all I'm saying is I'm aware of the pier. I know what they're trying to do there. So, yes, I've probably got a bit more of a background understanding than you have.
You do have to wonder why this always happens. You know, a perfectly normal, calm meeting suddenly gets sort of all angry and vicious like this. It's daft, isn't it?
I propose cautious approval subject to 1, the supporting equality and safeguarding talks are obtained and our staff are satisfied as to the contents of those. 2, that proposal is conditional on there being no remaining Kittiwakes fledglings at the date of the display. Otherwise, the location would need to be moved further along the beach as advised by the Kittiwake Partnership Officer. And 3, that we ask them to give consideration to use of low noise fireworks in the display.
I made a proposal.
Yes, you did, Wendy.
Give anybody a chance to second it.
Well,
so as a point of order, we've now got 2 proposals on the table. We'll now take a seconder on the first
right.
proposal.
Excuse me, can I just comment that neither proposal's been seconded? So if somebody is willing to second either proposal, they can do. We do not historically on any committee or full council wait and see if somebody wants to second a proposal before someone else has made one. We don't allow directly contradictory proposal to be put forward, but as neither has been seconded, there is no proposal in a fit state to be put to the committee. So we have 2 proposals. It's up. I mean, neither of them has to be seconded.
Okay, can we take them in order first? So if there's, can we get a seconder for the first proposal? That
yes, would anyone like to second Wendy's proposal? Okay. Would anyone like to second my proposal or to make an alternative proposal of their own? Bernie, then Connor.
I'm happy to second. The only thing I would say is obviously there's only going to be Kittiwake fledglings for the August.
Yes,
The two winter ones wouldn't, but
but it would be implicit in the terms of the proposal that that's one where they potentially need to have a plan B.
Yeah, okay, but I'm
Yeah.
happy to second.
Okay, right, Wendy. I'd say Connor after Bernie. I'd already said
Does
Connor.
he want to speak? Everyone just had his hand up.
Connor after Bernie.
Yep, so I was going to second as well. I just say that we have to think about the communities. On the application, it says 7,000 visitors attended the last one, and also the community that will benefit from having the pier back open.
It looks like at least one councillor has actually read the briefing notes.
No, you can speak, Wendy, but don't go back to a proposal that hasn't had a seconder.
I was going to ask if you would be willing that this, your proposal is also forwarded to the Climate Emergency Committee to consider?
No,
That in with your proposal?
no, I'm not, because it's for the grant. But what I would be happy, as the funds aren't required until June, that if Climate Emergency has any comments that it would wish to make through the office direct to the organisers on mitigations of any display, then by all means have a discussion. Yep, if other than the ones that have been made on not if the Kittiwake fledglings are still in place, making sure that we've already also got safeguarding and equality documentation that the officers are happy with, and please give consideration to low noise fireworks. If there are any other mitigations that the Climate Committee would like to discuss and feed to the organisers, then they can do that. But I'm not prepared to make it a condition of offering a grant, no. No.
I would just want to ask whether you would be prepared to consider would recommend having low noise. But
I'd be happy to add that, yes, if Bernie's willing to second on that basis. Yeah. Right, we've had a proposal, it's been seconded. All in favour, please. Okay, so that's 5. Wendy, against? Yep. Would you still like an item on the climate agenda to discuss mitigate? So as an action, could we have an item on the climate and ecological emergency agenda to consider offering via the office feedback to the organisers on further mitigations to reduce?
No, the item I'd like to go on the climate emergency is the town council stance on fireworks.
Okay,
and
well,
funding.
you can do that, but there will not be retrospective, Wendy. All right, so it will not overturn this grant decision. Okay, that's fine.
Well, there we go. That appears to be that. And then after that, things did settle down and get back to being civil. Far too much yelling in that one. I don't think it really does any good. When people have strong differing opinions, yelling at people very rarely gets them to change what they do. So anyway, I just wish they could just be a little bit more pleasant to each other. No doubt we'll have it again in the future. It seems to go all right for a few weeks and then it just takes off again. That's just the way it goes with Lowestoft Town Council. So anyway, I'll see you on the next video. Let's see what happens next. Take care. Look after yourselves.